Well, I'm Charles Anderson. Let's see, I'm from Alexandria, Louisiana. Got a lovely wife. I've got 4 daughters, 1 son, 5 granddaughters, 1 grandson. And kind of how I got where I am here, I was in the United States Army. When I got out of the United States Army after Desert Storm, I started working in corrections. It just made sense to me because I was used to wearing a uniform every day, and they allowed me to wear a uniform every day. So I started working in corrections. I worked in corrections in Illinois and Missouri, and then I ended up getting divorced. Life happens. And so when I got divorced, I moved back here and to Texas. I'm from Louisiana. I moved back to this area because my family had migrated from Alexandria, Louisiana, which is not much work there, to Houston. And so I moved back here, started working in corrections here because child support told me that I needed to keep health insurance on my kids, and I needed a government job because they helped me with that cost. So that's how I ended up working back in corrections. But something kind of happened while I was working in corrections is I started seeing men go home and come back. Go home and come back. Yeah, go home from prison and then come back to a prison. Go home from prison, come back from prison. And I asked myself, I said, you know, what would cause a person to be subject to this environment and get out to do something to come back here? That just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me from a pastoral standpoint. I was a pastor, but it didn't make sense to me from a human standpoint to be subject to everything that you're subject to, then to do something that would bring you back to incarceration. And so I worked in the laundry department as the last department that I worked in. And while working in the laundry department, you have a lot of time to just sit down and talk to returning citizens, talk to the offenders. And so I would sit down and talk to the offenders and say, hey, why are you back here? We talked 6 months. You had a plan on what you were going to do when you got out. And to a T, all of them would say, I didn't have any support when I got out. And that's serious because here in the state of Texas, whether you're incarcerated for 1 day or 100 years, when you get out, you're just going to get $100, and they're going to say start life with you. And I don't know about you, to try to start life with $100 is setting me up to come back to prison. Because after I sleep 1 day in a hotel and eat a really good meal, which I haven't had in however many years, then I'm broke. And then I got to figure out how to survive the next days. And so if I don't have any support, survival is the first rule. I'm going to survive. And if that means knocking somebody upside the head, I'm going to do that. Why? I just come from a very violent environment. That violence is how everything is done in the penitentiary. So I'm going to do that. So they kept saying, Pastor, we don't have any support. We don't have any support. And so that's what I did. I wrote my business plan for the first halfway house that I opened based on what the guys was telling me. And they was, okay, we can't find a decent place to live. The place that I should live, I can't afford to live, or they won't rent to me. Or the places that will rent to me, I don't need to be in that neighborhood, because that neighborhood is exactly what got me put in the penitentiary to begin with. And so I wrote my business plan to identify with those issues. So we wanted a nice a halfway house environment that and I don't even call it a halfway house. That discipleship home is just that, it's a home. It feels like home when you walk in. It don't feel like it's unkept, that people don't care. And so while I was still working for Texas Department of Criminal Justice is when I started my first facility.